Shalom, everyone. We're going to start a minute or two early tonight. Um, I hope that you enjoyed the new intro. And actually, the intro was done for an interview that I had last week, an interview that has an amazing story. Okay, so the interview was with Yehuda ben Zvi. Yehuda is, first off, uh, for years, um, going back 30 years, I worked with a rabbi, several rabbis, Rabbi Israel Oriel. I had several meetings with him, met with him privately several times, always had to have a translator. I couldn't converse in Hebrew, and he didn't speak hardly any English. Uh, but he was always a mentor to me. As the head of the Temple Institute, he is the leading temple sage of the last several hundred years. And I remember specifically on my eighth trip, uh, Rabbi Richmond, Chaim Richmond, and I were going up to the Temple Institute offices, um, which had greatly improved from where he originally was. And Rabbi Oriel was coming down the stairs, and he stopped me. He stopped both of us, and he asked Chaim, how many times had I been to Israel at this time? This is about 1992, somewhere around there, 93. And I told him 8 times. And he said, eight is a special meeting and everything. And on that stairway, he laid hands on me. He prayed for me that God would teach me the Holy Temple. And um, we went on up the stairs. He came down, and I had a meeting with Rabbi Menachem Markover and Rabbi Richmond. And to this day, Rabbi Richmond's still active, but he doesn't work on the temple. And it's not that he has departed from the temple; it's that if he were to make statements uh, about the temple, it could be in conflict with the Temple Institute. And he's an honorable man. He didn't want to do that. But Rabbi Menachem Markover, we worked with him back then, and we are still working with him today. And he is the sage that is over the Rabbi Persov, who is the head of the Mikdash Educational Center, the Temple Educational Center. And uh, we, Yehuda ben Zvi, who you saw his name there. I did an interview with him about a week and a half ago about the first red heifer that was born in Israel back in the month of June. And many of you know that she had a ear tag placed in her ear, and this brought up halakhic questions about whether she would be allowed as a candidate for red heifer. The Lo and behold, Yehuda they formed right before this first red heifer was born. They formed what was called um, uh, the National Red Heifer Institute, okay, or the National Institute of the Red Heifer. I get them confused on there. And Yehuda is a part of that. He is also assistant to Rabbi Rabbi Persov, and he goes around the country lecturing on the temple. Over the last few weeks, everything has changed. He is in high demand. He is from early in the morning till late at night. He very seldom gets home before 9 at night. We do most of our interviews from 10 o'clock to midnight. It's quite a thing. So I got a call on Thursday, and I was here in my office, and so I saw that it was Yehuda calling me, and I picked up my phone, and I headed downstairs, and he told me that a new red heifer had been born in Israel. This is making two. Okay. And I got so excited um, that Debbie came running out of the bedroom. She had heard my phone ring. She knew I was talking to someone, but she thought something had happened with one of our kids. And so, lo and behold, it was just like, wow, two red heifers in a matter of 6 weeks. This one was born during the time of the straits between the 17th of Tammuz and the first of the 9th of Av, which is going to start tomorrow night. And it was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. So at any rate, let me tell you this story. Uh, Yehuda said on Sunday, the first off, let me back up. There is a subgroup within the National Red Heifer Institute. Okay, and that subgroup is called the Beit Midrash. Now, Yehuda is spokesman for both these groups. Okay, and he's a part of both of these groups. So first off, he is a man that is in the know. And basically everyone that deals with the temple in Israel, all the rabbis, all the key people, the craftsmen that are working on various things. There's projects going on all over the place. He's in the midst of it. He's a man that is in the know. And so he said, Joe, we need to announce this. We want to get this out to the public. But we want it to be regulated. Okay, we want it to go through sources that we know, and so at any rate, he said on Sunday they were going to announce it in Israel. Of course, Israel is 8 hours. I'm in Central Time, and so Israel is 8 hours ahead of us. So let's say they announced it at 2 o'clock in Israeli time. If we did an interview at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which would be 10 o'clock in Israel, then it would have already been announced in Israel. They did not want it announced to the world until it was announced in Israel. So we set up an interview. I saw Gabriel Gallegos. He put this together for me for the interview, the little intro that you saw. And we were going to live stream it. And it was going to, we were going to come in and we were going to tell the world a new red heifer has been born. And that, it was wow time. Okay. About 15 minutes before we were supposed to go live, Yehuda called me and he said, we weren't able to announce it here in Israel today. Something occurred and we just couldn't announce it. And he said, so we can't announce it to, on the broadcast. So I said, what are we going to do? We've already put out that we're going to have a big announcement. And he said, I'll come close, but I can't say it literally. Okay. But he said, let's go ahead. Let's put out this. And we did. And it was a good interview. But I was disappointed because this was the type of news that how big is the news? I can tell you on my estimation. Of course, I'm kind of temple conscious. Okay, I think it's more important than the July 4th, 1776, when the Declaration of Independence. I mean, we're talking about the kingdom of God. We're not talking about the establishment of a nation. We're talking about the kingdom of God, and a very clear, very, very powerful sign that not only is this coming together, but you just don't drop red heifers around here and there. And so, anyway, so he said, okay, they'll announce it on Monday, and we can do the announcement to everybody on Monday evening. Okay. So lo and behold, I got a call on Monday. And it had turned out that another organization, Bonei Israel, they are the ones that had brought over the 5 red cows earlier in, actually several years ago, that were housed at Shiloh. And as many of you know, one of those calves, which was very much disqualified, where they did a practice session with it up in the north. Okay, why they do it in the north? Because to do an actual red heifer ceremony, it has to be done on the Mount of Olives. You have to be looking at where the temple stood. That's a requirement. That's a biblical requirement. Okay, so the Bonei Israel was going to take two of these remaining four cows. They were not, just calves. Okay, I'm going to talk about what a calf is as opposed to what a pariah is, a cow. And uh, they're 5 years old. Most of them, by the time they're 5 years old, they become disqualified because the white hairs start coming out. There are numbers of problems. But at any rate, they were going to take and impregnate two of the cows artificially, okay, and hopefully to get a herd of red heifers started, so that in the future there would always be in the land of Israel available cows that you could expect a calf from that would be red. Okay, so the decision was made not by Yehuda, but by the institute, the National Institute, as well as the Beit Midrash, to postpone their announcement yet another day. And so, uh, so for me, I was just like going nuts over here because, it's like you've got something you want to tell and you can't tell it. Okay. And so anyway, so this morning I got up. Okay. They were expecting to do the announcement about 2 o'clock. Okay. So 2 o'clock in the afternoon is my 6 o'clock in the morning. I was up. I get on my phone right away and I call Yehuda. He doesn't answer. I send him a text and I said, can you call me? Did it happen? And what's happening? Do you have pictures and all these things? Okay. Um, I'm pretty much like an expected a father that's about to have a baby born, and so at any rate, I get a call from him, and he said we have announced it. Everybody's just going crazy over here, and they spoke to 1,500 students yesterday, 1,500 students today, and everything. And so I want to show you pictures of the calf, and I also Yehuda sent he sent an article he wrote. This is the article. I'm going to scale down to the pictures. Okay, all right. So let's see. There you go. You can see this very, very young calf. Okay, here she is. And by the way, a calf in Hebrew is called eglah. Okay, and so it has to be in its third year. The Hebrew term is shlishi. Has to be in its third year, and so that means 2 years. It becomes eligible. It will be in its third year at that time. Okay, so here's another picture. Okay, now this man, I haven't confirmed this, but I'm pretty sure this is the farm that the calf was born on. Now, what's amazing about it is he is the leading expert among all the Beit Midrash on to artificially inseminate the cattle to hopefully get a red heifer. A farm that he worked with was the one a farm that had the first red heifer back in June. This is his farm, and we'll see his name coming up in a few moments. And so here you can see a close-up of her face, and you notice there are no ear tags, none at all. All right, so let's go, and I want to go up and read the article to you. And I didn't think about printing this out, and I could have enlarged it a little bit. Hopefully, you'll be able to see it. Now, it was translated, it was originally written in Hebrew. It was translated into English by one of the AIs. And so it'll have the National Red Heifer Institute rather than the Hebrew name of it. Okay. But it's going to be an interesting read. It says just a month and a half ago, the National Red Heifer Institute announced the birth of a red heifer calf in Israel. Now on the eve of Tisha B'Av, the Institute is pleased to announce the birth of another red heifer calf in the Golan Heights. The first was born in the Galilee, okay? And so this is in the Golan. The Jewish people on their way to raising a herd of red heifers and in addition, this week in ancient Shiloh, 2 red cows were inseminated so that with God's help, the Jewish people on their way to raising a herd of red heifers and restoring purity to Israel after 2,000 years. Now, let me stop sharing real quick, because Yehuda, when he called me, he told me we can't do it because Bnei Israel is doing this, did this today, and they're putting out their announcement. We don't want to have this confusing thing on this group, that group, and so forth. And we don't want to seem to be in competition with them. And so, but he told me that he was up there and he witnessed the insemination when this was done to the cattle and everything. And so, as I mentioned to you, he's on the scene. He is on the scene. He knows exactly what's happening, and he's involved and a part of what's happening. Okay, so let's go back. And here, this time, the heifer was born in the Golan Heights, while her purity was strictly maintained without an ear tag, since she was born in none other than the herd of Shah Givon, the former of the National Red Heifer Institute. Now remember that. I want you to remember the word farmer, because Debbie and I were talking and she brought up something that I think is really profound. I'm going to tell you about in a few moments. Okay. It was Shai who had also identified the previous heifer in one of the dairy barns where he worked. When asked how 2 red heifers were born so close together, Shai replied, "I feel that we are living in a historic era. Since the last heifer was born, I have received inquiries and questions from all across the Jewish spectrum in Israel and abroad, Hasidim, Litvaks, secular Jews, religious Jews. The Jewish people are more attuned than ever to the subject of the temple and the restoration of purity to Israel, and God is opening opportunities that haven't existed for 2,000 years." Wow. That's one of the reasons I think this is more significant than the signing of the Declaration of Independence. "We're on our way to raising a herd of red heifers," says Shai. Although the team at the National Red Heifer Institute anticipated potential heifers would be born this season, her birth so close to Tisha B'Av certainly gives the impression that God is urging us to accelerate the path to building the temple. And the real question is, do we want to? That's going to be important in the next part of what I'm going to present. Because the calf was born in Shai's herd, it does not have an ear tag, but its health condition has sparked a fascinating debate that our forefathers could not have imagined. I had no idea this, okay? This is very interesting. The heifer was born as a twin to a male calf. And unlike any other animals, only in cattle does an exceptional natural phenomenon occur in which the placentas of twin fetuses are connected to one another via blood vessels. This phenomenon is known as permutin, and in 98% of these cases, the hormones required for the reproductive organs become mixed between the male and female, and the male testosterone causes severe damage to the female's uterus. Although the uterus is present, it will certainly not develop properly, and the heifer will remain barren for life. This is where the Beit Midrash of the National Institute for the Study of the Red Heifer comes into the picture once again. It consists of about 20 rabbis who provide halakhic guidance for the project. The rabbis had only just reached the final stages of deciding on the kashrut. You know, the word kashrut means that it is acceptable, it is permitted. Of the previous heifer, after an ear tag was placed in her ear. The puncture from the tag has healed well, and there are now barely any signs left of the defect inflicted upon her shortly after birth. Now the Beit Midrash will have to decide whether the developmental defect in the uterus of the newly born heifer disqualifies her from the red heifer mitzvah. The question arises as to whether a congenital defect that is not external and visible on the cow's body disqualifies her from being considered unblemished, both with regard to sacrifices in general and specifically with regard to the red heifer. Now, that was from Rabbi Azariah Ariel. Earlier, I mentioned Rabbi Israel Ariel, who is the father of Rabbi Azariah Ariel, head of the Beit Midrash at the National Institute for the Study of the Red Heifer. Since our goal is to establish a national halakhic framework and will not decide on this matter on our own, the Beit Midrash will need to discuss the issue collectively and present its conclusions for the endorsement of the leading halakhic authorities of our generation. You see that last little sentence, the last one I read? I'm reading into it. They have not told me this. Okay, so I want you to understand this is not from them. This is from me. We want to separate what you see from them. That's the official word. What you hear from me, that might be opinion, and that you want to go with the official word. Okay, but I believe that this sentence right here, for the endorsement of the leading halakhic authorities of our generation, that sounds like the Sanhedrin, the Sanhedrin informing that this might be the fuel to bring that to the forefront. We have to have a decision, and it has to be not from just this halakhic authority, that halakhic authority, but from a united great Sanhedrin Gedolai. All right. So, with God's help, we hope to publish our conclusions regarding the central questions in this field about a year, and subsequently to publish our comprehensive volumes of the Red Heifer according to Halakha. To publish 4 comprehensive volumes of the Red Heifer according to Halakha, summarizing a decade of halakhic research to be made available to the rabbinic community in Israel. We are already inviting the rabbis of Israel to a rabbinical meeting on Thursday, August 6th, at a forum in the north. Again, we have that word forum. In the north, to engage in joint reflection on the fascinating halakhic questions arising in this field, so that we may take responsibility toward the Jewish people and ensure that we are indeed fulfilling God's will to restore purity to Israel. I invite the rabbinic community to register on the website of the National Institute for the Study of the Red Heifer, or simply to send a registration request to the email address, and it's menachem@redheiferinstitute.com. Now, on the eve of Tisha B'Av, the Jewish people are becoming increasingly aware of the issue of the temple. We're going to talk about that. Yehuda Ben Zvi, one of the leaders of the National Institute for the Study of the Red Heifer, is witnessing this awakening firsthand through his educational work at the Seminary for Temple Knowledge. It's the Institute for, this is the Makom Beit HaMikdash. That's the Temple Institute. This is the Mikdash Educational Center. The AI translated this funny, okay? but it is the Mikdash, the temple educational center. During the 3 weeks, meaning from the 17th of Tammuz to the 9th of Av, we don't just mourn the temple, we work nonstop, conducting educational activities throughout the country on the topic of the temple. Over the past month, we met with approximately 10,000 people from some 60 communities stretching from Akkad in the north to Bnei Netzarim on the Egyptian border. Just this week, of the 9 days, okay, so that's from the 1st of Av to the 9th of Av, and that's when this calf was born, is right at the 1st of Av, okay? We met with 1,000 children a day at a massive educational event in ancient Shiloh, connecting the 5,000 children of the Benjamin Regional Council to the topic of the temple in preparation for Tisha B'Av. Over the past year, we have sensed a tremendous awakening regarding the temple, and to meet the demand, we have launched a mass fundraising campaign in recent days to expand the scope of our educational activities on the subject of the temple. Perhaps on Tisha B'Av 2 years from now, we will merit purifying the people of Israel for the first time in 2,000 years through a historic national event, which may fulfill the words of the prophet, that the days of remembrance and of the destruction will be transformed into days of joy for the building of the temple, as it is said, "Thus says the Lord of hosts, the 4th fast, the 5th fast, the 7th fast, and the 10th fast shall be for the house of Yehuda a time of joy and gladness, and a time of love, truth, and peace." That's Zechariah chapter 8, verse 20. The question now is, do we want the temple? And what am I doing? Each of us should ask this. Each of us should ask, do we want the temple? And the second question, what am I doing to advance the process of its construction speedily in our days? You know, this reminds me of a very famous quote. In fact, it's my favorite quote from the Talmud, that Hillel, the great sage Hillel the elder, he said, "If I'm not for myself, who will be? And if not now, when?" I was working this morning on a presentation I'm going to be doing in Kansas in a few weeks on the book of Haggai. And the book of Haggai starts on the 6th month and the 1st day. That's Elul 1. My goodness, that's just a few days from now. And that's the beginning of the season of Teshuvah. And in addition to that, it says, in fact, I'm going to read it to you. I sent that, by the way, I sent that verse out of Zechariah to Yehuda, and said, maybe this is the start of this. Maybe it's the start of the fulfillment of this, where the days of mourning turn to days of rejoicing. Okay, give me a second here. And I'll get there. All right, let me move a book. And all right, so this is Haggai chapter 1. You can see here, in the 2nd year of Daryavesh, or Darius the king, in the 6th month, on the 1st day of the month. That's Elul 1. The word of the Lord came by Haggai the prophet to Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Yehuda, and to Yehoshua the son of Jehozadak, the high priest, saying, Thus says the Lord of hosts, saying, This people say the time is not come, the time that the Lord's house should be built. Wow, that's a direct statement, and it matches exactly what Yehuda wrote. It says, And the word of the Lord came by Haggai the prophet, saying, Is it time for you yourselves to dwell in your well-timbered houses, whilst this house, meaning my house, the temple, while this house lies waste? Now therefore, says the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. You've sown much and bring in little. You eat, but you have not enough. You're always hungry. You drink. You drink, but you're not filled with drink. You clothe yourselves, but no one is warm. And he that earns wages to put them into a bag with holes. Thus says the Lord of hosts, consider your ways. He's going to say this 4 times in that book. Consider your ways. What a message for the season of Teshuvah. Consider your ways. Go up to the mountain, bring wood, and build the house, and I will take pleasure in it, and I will be glorified, says the Lord. That's profound, people. And if you don't see how profound this is. Now, we did a video, we did an interview today. I had all types of computer problems up till right before we went. I didn't have any sound on my computer, couldn't hear a thing. We couldn't get it to work. And so we tried for 2 hours. We tried, and I called Yehuda and said, can we do something? Now, it went out to a number of people. You can watch it. You can go to my YouTube channel. You can go to Facebook, either the ministry Facebook account or my personal account, and you can watch the video. It's short, but it won't take long to watch it. It's probably 15 or 20 minutes at the most, but you can hear it from him. And what I want you to watch, I want you to look at his face. Okay, I want you to see that joy. And if you could hear, they were doing a seminar at that time on the Red Heifer, on the temple, on educating everyone. Okay, and so go and watch it and share it. Okay, go and watch it and share it. And so, at any rate, major things. Now, I don't want you to forget about the book that the interview I did with Eliyahu Berkowitz on the return of the Torah. Okay, and let me tell you, of all the things, people say, what's the hardest thing in order to get to have a temple? And one of the big ones that's going to come up. Well, the Dome of the Rock is in the way. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is in the way. How are you going to take care of that? I'm not going to take care of it. I don't know how that's going to be done, but I know that God said 2 things. 1, there's a temple coming. And number 2, it has to be right there, right where the Dome of the Rock is. And the Al-Aqsa Mosque and all of that. I don't know what he's going to do, but he's got a plan for it. He's going to work it out. On our end, the 2 things that seem impossible to give are the Red Heifer, because it's really, really difficult to have one to reach that age that's still qualified, and to have a Cohen that doesn't have corpse impurity. That means he has to be raised from his birth. I want to show you in the Mishnah. This will be the Tractate Parah, and let me turn to the appropriate Mishnah. It's in chapter 3. So we'll look at this one. This is 3:1 first. And I want to point something out. Okay, so this is Parah 3:1. Parah means cow. Okay. 7 days before the burning of the cow, the Kohen who is to burn the cow is taken away from his home to a chamber in the Birah. The Birah means the temple here. Northeast, it's on the northeast side, okay, in the Azarah, in the inner courtyard, which was called house of stone, Beit Evan in Hebrew. Now, I believe that it's specifically this building, okay? This is on the northeast corner. Let me move this. Set this down, okay? This is on the northeast corner, and from here, I think that he would be able to look out a window and look over to the east, back on this side, okay? Back over here. You can't see, but way to the far end. Let me move this back a little bit further. And for he's going to be in this room of stone. And the reason it's a room of stone is so that he cannot accidentally contract corpse impurity. Okay? But wait a second. Now, what we're told is that he's going to be taken to the house of stone. They sprinkle upon him on each of these 7 days from all the purification waters that are there. You know, that's different from what is done for everyone else. They're sprinkling on the first day, the second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day. But it indicates that he had corpse. He was corpse impure. He had corpse impurity, and so they're going through an extensive ceremony, more than is required for anyone else. The ceremony requires on the first day for a normal person that you declare it, and on the third day they're going to sprinkle you, and then on the seventh day they're going to sprinkle you, and when it gets dark, you're now pure. Okay, but this priest, he doesn't have the problem that a priest has today. They had the ashes of the red heifer already. Okay, and so they're able to take those ashes and make him pure. We have to have a priest that is corpse free, doesn't have impurity, in order to perform the ceremony. So we can't get the ashes of the red heifer unless we have a priest that is free from corpse impurity. And we don't have the option of sprinkling him and making him corpse free. Okay? So how does it happen? So we're told here in the Mishnah, this is in 3:2, there were courtyards in Jerusalem built on rock with hallowed space beneath them because of a grave in the depths. In other words, that it has to be built of stone. Remember, stone cannot transfer corpse impurity, but it also has to have where wind can pass through. That's like a buffer. They used to bring pregnant women who would give birth there. Now, these are not just pregnant women, they are priestly women. In other words, their husband is a priest and their father was a priest. Okay, priestly women who give birth there and raise their children there. Whoa, they have to be raised till they're at least 12 years old, bar mitzvah age, and they brought oxen with doors on the backs. This is for the drawing of the water, but that'll give you an idea of why it's so difficult. Not only to get the red heifer, you got to get the Kohen. Okay, now the second thing that is difficult, I'm going to put that into the category of the red heifer, the cow, and the priest. Okay, but we have something else that's equally difficult, and that's the ketoret. That's the incense, because the family that kept the incense made the incense. First off, the sages came and said, "Hey, share the recipe with us." Okay, and they said, "No, we're not going to do it." And at first, the sages were angry at them. Okay, in fact, they took some actions against them, and but then they realized the reason they don't want to give this secret away is the fear that it would be used in pagan worship. And so they respected their opinion, they respected their stand. And so we had a problem. The problem was the Romans come and the family disappeared. We don't know if they were killed. We don't know if they were sold into captivity. But wherever they went, whether to the grave, they went into obscurity, and there went the recipe. And so we have a listing of the elements. We actually have But there's fine things, and there's one secret ingredient. This is a smoke rising herb, and exactly how it was made, they couldn't duplicate. And so the story of the Ketoret, there is a possible cache of Ketoret from 2,000 years ago that still retained the essence. The people could smell it. It's still, in fact, there was a test that was run on it, and lo and behold, it acted just like the temple incense. It's been tested by certain chemists. It's been tested but at the time that it was discovered, there weren't enough tests thorough. That it was a matter of we can define certainly whether or not this is temple incense. And so, but now, some 30 years later, that was in 1992. Some 30 years later, all this time that incense has been hidden away, and it's come back out into the light. And once again, it will be tested. And so maybe we have red heifer showing up, incense showing up. And wait a second, all of this has happened in the last 6 weeks. That's amazing. If you don't think it's amazing, then you and I are not on the same planet, okay? Because God obviously is bringing the things forward. And so if he's bringing these things forward, where do we stand? We need to be standing, asking ourselves that question: is it time for me to build the temple? And when I say that, the way that you build the temple is, number one, you start praying for it. Number two, you start learning about it. The amount of information that most people know on the temple is nothing more than a fantasy temple. And it's time that we learn the temple and learn the ceremonies of the temple. Do exactly what it says in the book of Yehezkel. I'm going to read it to you. Out of Yehezkel chapter 43. Starting in verse 10. And it says, "You, son of man, tell the house of Israel about the temple, and let them be ashamed of their iniquities." Whoa, my goodness. Wait a second. If I read that correctly, that by learning of the temple, you will become ashamed of your iniquities. And I can say that that has become true in my life. The more that I studied on the temple, the more I wanted to depart from all the evil and the bad thoughts and everything. You will become ashamed of their iniquities and calculate the temple's design. If they become ashamed of all that they have done, then make known to them the form of the temple and its design, its exits, its entrances, and all its buildings, forms, all its laws, all its designs, and all its teachings. So, wait a second. If I read that correctly, that means that what God is instructing us is to learn everything. Everything. Not just how tall the building was, not just where the altar was, not just the basics of the red heifer, but to go in and let it go in and study and let it transform you. Consider your ways. Why? When Moses goes up on the mountain, why does God say, very first thing, what's the first thing he says to him? Tell the people to bring tormot, free will offerings of gold, silver, precious cloths, sheni tolat, crimson, argamine, purple, the techelet, the blue. Bring all these things, and then we have 7 verses of things he lists off, and he says, build me a mikdash. so that I might Shekinah dwell among you. Okay, so we don't worship the temple. We are following Hashem's instruction by learning of the temple. And so by now, many of you should be teaching the Holy Temple. And those of you that are not, you need to be learning. And so you need to have good, credible sources. Okay, so in about 5 minutes, we're going to go to break. Okay, but when we come back, I want to show you what is being done by the Mikdash Educational Center. And right now, they're having a big fundraising so that they can reach more Jews in the land of Israel to teach them. Now, you and I will benefit from this because as the people of Israel, it will come to them first, and then it comes to the entire world. Okay? Now, I mentioned about the forums. And I told you that Debbie and I had we were talking about this earlier today. We've been talking about it for the last 4 or 5 days quite a bit. And she brought up something that was brilliant. When Israel, when it was called Palestine, and the Zionist movement started in the 1890s, and they started preaching the message of the state of Israel, a Jewish state, to become a reality. They, the first ones that came, didn't come because they were so much Zionist. They came because they were fleeing. They were fleeing out of the pogroms that were occurring in Russia and in Poland and other places, the anti-Semitism. And some of them had a vision for a Jewish state. But many of them were fleeing. Many of them walked to the land from Russia, or Poland. And so they came, and these people were known as the Chulutzim, the pioneers. And what did they do? They came, and the land was desolate. But they began to build irrigation canals. They began to drain swamps. They began to establish farms. And out of that movement came what was called the kibbutzim, the moshavim, the farms, the communal farms, and it became an agricultural state, and the land began to replenish. Well, over the years, the moshavim and the kibbutzim have been dying and dying and dying, and they've been going into other fields than agriculture and livestock. Now, those are still they're still very prominent, but there has been a shift away. I believe, and Debbie pointed this out. Look at the Red Heifer there. They're having these big meetings at farms. August 6th, remember? August 6th, they're calling rabbis to a farm. And it's a farm where the Red Heifers are and everything that is happening. And so it's like we're going back to the roots. And we're going to start once again. And this time, instead of a secular Israel, it's an Israel that is moving towards the covenant that they have with Hashem and walking in his commandments and walking in his ways. And so we're going to go to break right now. And when we come back, I want to show you the program that they're putting forward. I want to talk about that and why it's so essential. Now, I would appreciate if you would put up your questions you might have on the Red Heifer. I'd like to discuss in the comments the difference between a calf and a cow. I'd like to discuss what are some of the restrictions and all of these various ins and outs. And so I'd also like your comments. What do you think about the announcement? I know a lot of you probably have watched the video from today, and I'd like your comments on that. And also, if you would share, if you'd like and share, it really will help us. Okay? All right. I'm going to put on once again. By the way, we're going to do some expansion of this to where that instead of this was made, for an intro for the interview, and Gabriel Gallegos is the one that did a great job on that. But we're going to put some other things in and maybe change them from every few weeks or so, more scenes of the temple, latest actions happening in the temple, and all kinds of things there. Now, give me a second, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. All right. Shalom, everyone. I hope you had a chance to grab some coffee or a snack. And so we're going to move into the second part of this. But before we get started, um, there are several ways you can help us. Number one is I want to see your comments and your questions, very definitely. Number two is that if you would please, if you are enjoying and getting some information, then please like it. That just really helps us. And most of all, if you share it, okay? Um, we've got another interview coming up next week with Rabbi Mordecai Persoff. Okay, he's a good personal friend of mine, and we've worked together over the years. And I think that the opportunities are abounding right now for us to work closer and closer together. And so if you subscribe on YouTube, when we put up an announcement, it'll give you a notification when we all of a sudden got some breaking news that we're able to share with you, and you can get on and see it initially as it comes. I want to tell you in a little bit about a song. But right now we're going to go into the educational program, what they are doing to educate the people. And they have started this program just in the last few days, and it is having an overwhelming success. And hopefully we'll be able to raise some money that will go to them. In fact, we're going to show you how you can donate directly to them. Okay. And also, if you go to the JerusalemTempleStudy.com, there is a place to donate for the education, the temple education. That doesn't go to us. That's going to go over there to kind of be a part of this project. Okay. And so I know these people personally, and we're going to talk a little bit about Mini Israel. I understand some questions have come in. Is it available to go to if you're a non-Jew, if you are from the United States, or is it only for those that live in Israel? I guarantee you, you can go to Mini Israel, and if I know you're going, I can even see if I can arrange for somebody to assist you. It'll be in Hebrew and it'll be in English, and if you need Spanish, it'll be in Spanish. Okay. Now the videos, I believe they're going to have a Spanish translation. I'm hoping they will have a Spanish translation. Also, the information we're going to look at on the educational program, that is also going to be available in Spanish. I'm not sure how soon, but right away. Okay, it's not going to be something down the road. So let me go to back to WhatsApp. You'll see this is Gabriel Gallegos, and let's see, Rabbi Persoff. Let me see if I can get up. Here we go. Okay, here. So, this. All right. Placing the temple on the tablet of our hearts. 35 years connecting the people. Wow, this is going fast. The next generation will. When asked if I did anything for the rebuilding of the temple, we want the temple now. Help that happen. Okay. So with more than 60,000 participants every year, the goal is to go up to 100,000, way over 100,000. Okay. So let me go down, and people can make, you can see that they are trying to raise a considerable amount of money. Let's see. So you can make donations here, and you can see on the chart how far they are towards their goal. And there's $72, $180, $360, $720. and these are a month, if I'm not mistaken. And you could also make no, excuse me, all of these are going to be, $720, $1,000, $3,000, and $5,000 a month. That's a tremendous amount. That's $60,000 a year. $7,200 a month, $12,600 a month, and you can donate right here. Okay, bringing the Holy Temple into every heart. All right, so what can we do today for the Beit HaMikdash? Well, let me go back. Okay, can you donate less than that? Absolutely. If you can't see how to donate less than that, if you, I'll talk to them, see if I can get that question answered. But you can always go to JerusalemTempleStudy.com, and when you bring it up, you can donate to the Israeli Army. You can donate to the any amount that you want, and we'll see that it gets over there. We had a $50 donation, and I know the individual that gave that. He knows who he is, but it came in last night for this. Okay, and so whatever comes in, we're going to get over to them. All right, let's go down and we can read a little bit about this. What can we do today for the Beit HaMikdash? The question, Phil. What's that? All right, I'm not sharing the right screen. Okay. Maybe it's not when let me stop sharing and share now. When I went to the website, I bet it didn't share. Okay. All right. Hopefully now we'll this is what we went through before. I think that what happened is when I clicked on the link, that it just showed you the original page. Okay, but this is their website. All right, so that wasn't a mistake on my part. It was I didn't realize that it wouldn't carry over. Okay, so you can see here's your different donations, and I'm not sure. I'm going to close that. Okay, let's go down, bringing the Holy Temple into every heart. And we can do today for the Beit, what can we do today for the Beit HaMikdash? The question feels more powerful today than ever before. After everything the Jewish people have endured since Simchat Torah, okay, that's 2023, October 7th, Simchat Torah, the Hamas massacre. Now, everybody knows what we're talking about here, but since then, ever since Simchat Torah, the pain, the courage, the unity, and the faith. What can we truly do, and what must we do? This is exactly where the mission of the Mikdash Educational Center begins. For 35 years, we've been connecting the Jewish people to the Beit HaMikdash, not only through books, but through experiences that touch the heart. We believe that in order to truly crave for the Beit HaMikdash, we first need to understand it, to see it, to experience it, to feel that it belongs to us, our children, and to the next generation. Now look at this. Imagine, okay, right here, you see the picture. We have all around the area. You have pictures of the Beit HaMikdash. You have a little setting here. You have a demonstration that is taking place. But look at the audience. Okay, look at the audience. They're reaching the young people. They're reaching the elementary. They're the middle school, the high schoolers, the army, the settlements, the kibbutzim, the moshavim. They're reaching into the colleges. They're reaching everywhere, and they're going to need to hire more people and train more people to reach all the people, because people, for the first time, I want to stop for a moment. Come back to this in a moment. About, I don't know, 25, it's at least 30 years ago. It was at least 27 years ago, okay? Because Yael, my daughter, was a baby. And she would be 27 right now. And we had gone to California. And we were speaking at a house, and it was a big house. And people were coming in. They had quite a bit of people were driving in from all over California. And we had this conference with Rabbi Richmond and myself. And it was at this time of year, right before Tisha B'Av. And Rabbi Richmond had been invited to speak at a synagogue on the temple. And he told me, you know, it's sad because the only time the Jewish people are interested in the temple is between the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av. And he went, he came back, and he said, you know, they listen and everything, but everything's changed now. I mean, now people want to hear about the temple, and people are wanting to read about the temple. They want to see videos on the temple, and it's like this crust has broken through, and all of a sudden, the fulfillment. Teach my people the Beit HaMikdash. Measure the pattern. Okay, and so let's go back to this, but all right, so all right, every year we reach more than 60,000 children, teenagers, families, soldiers, and communities throughout Israel. Now their goal is to go way beyond that, before the next few weeks, to reach over 200,000. Okay, we bring the world of the Beit HaMikdash to life through magnificent models, virtual reality exhibits. The virtual reality is actually Rico and that's our app. Okay, that's the virtual reality is a whole nother experience than the app you have on your phone. They've worked with us on it. Rabbi Persov personally worked on it with us. And so they have our permission to use these as they go around. And then you'll see a room full of 30 students, everyone with the 3D viewer on his head. So the virtual reality, exhibits, films, replicas of the temple vessels, workshops, and innovative educational content. I want to recommend that if you go to Israel, look up a museum called the Hebrew Music Museum. The first place that you're going to go into is the music of the temple. They have room after room. They show the different regions and the different musical instruments and so forth. There is a virtual reality. You put on the goggles, and this was put together by them. And it shows the music of the temple. Okay, this is the organization that's doing this. All right, innovative educational content. More than 150,000 students have already participated in our Temple Week initiative. But we feel that is only the beginning. Over the past year, we've seen more and more people seeking to connect, to ask, to learn, to understand, especially now when the heart of the Jewish people is yearning for redemption and hope. We want to reach thousands more children, families, and communities in Israel and around the world. One of the stories that accompanies us is the story of Ziv Chien, of blessed memory, a reservist who fell in the fighting in Gaza. The Beit HaMikdash was close to his heart, and the pin he wore, you see the pin on his lapel, became, after his passing, a symbol of connection, faith, and longing. That pin is a little pin of the Holy Temple. Since then, tens of thousands of Jews have begun wearing the temple pin and necklace. Each pin is far more than a piece of jewelry. It is a quite declaration. Now, I want to stop sharing because I have a personal note on this. So after the interview with Svi today, he knows that Rabbi Persoff and I are close. And so he said, hey, Rabbi Persoff's here. He's teaching in the next room. Let me go tell him you're on. And so he said he'll want to come and say hi. So he came and he showed his little pen, same pen you saw there. And he said, we brought a whole bunch of these pens with us and we ran out. We don't have enough because of all the people that were there to hear on the Holy Temple. Okay. I have on my refrigerator, I have a little magnet. It's a picture of the temple. When we were there in 2024, Edgar Ramos was there. Rico actually was there that night. He wasn't there on our trip, but he and Rafi Gonzalez and some others, they were there. And so they came up because Rabbi Persoff was coming to speak to our group. And so he passed out these magnets to everyone. And what he told us is that the soldiers in Gaza are coming back and they're saying in every Muslim house, they have a picture of the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And he said, we need to do that. We need to have where in our homes we have pictures of the Holy Temple. It's something that we need to pray for, to step out, okay? And I think my Siddur is downstairs, but I think I can, I've got another Siddur right here. But I'm going to show you the prayer for the rebuilding of the temple. And you can learn it. You can start off saying it in English, but hey, graduate, learn to say it in Hebrew. Okay, but let's go back. Let's see what else he has to say here. Okay, it's a quite declaration, and this is what it says. I am connected, I am waiting, and I believe. Wow, that's like the answer to Haggai chapter 1, consider your ways. And so, and our dream is much greater, not tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands of Jews carrying the Beit HaMikdash close to their hearts. Hundreds of thousands of children growing up with the understanding that the Beit HaMikdash is not merely a memory from the past, but part of their identity and part of the future they long for. This is why during the 3 weeks, we launch a partnership campaign. Our goal is to raise 500,000 shekalim, okay? That's going to be $150,000 to $200,000. These funds will enable us to expand our activities, reach more schools and communities, develop new exhibits and educational content, make the world of the Beit HaMikdash accessible to tens of thousands more people, and continue strengthening the connection between the Jewish people and the Beit HaMikdash. This is not just a donation, it's an opportunity to take part in something much greater, the future of the Jewish people. And when years from now, our grandchildren will ask what we did to bring redemption closer, what we did to connect the next generation to the Beit HaMikdash, and what we did to transform longing into action, you'll have an answer. We were there too. We also took part. We also did something for the Beit HaMikdash. Join us. Together we'll connect our hearts. Together we'll raise a generation that knows the Beit HaMikdash and longs for it. Together we will transform longing into action. Okay? And so I'm going to ask that Gabriel or Victor or someone that they post up. It probably have to be Gabriel. I don't think Gabriel's the only one that I think that actually has the link. But if you can post that link upward so that people can get it, here's one of the biggest things you can do. If you can donate your extra monies, then do. Okay. But also share the site, share this lecture. Okay. Share it and ask people not to just watch and put it away, but to actually act on it. Okay. And so I believe our world is in so much trouble. And I believe that it's like just uh, about to blow up. And we see everywhere the evil that's happening. And it's not in one country, it's not in one location, it's worldwide. But here, you're seeing the hand of God. You're seeing the hand of God bringing forth what was prophesied in the scriptures. I had a rabbi, an Orthodox rabbi, call me and ask me about Matthew 24:2. You know why he wanted to know about it? Because Candace Owen and I can't even think of his name. These are people I don't think on. You know the guy that is so anti-temple. They're coming out and it's rocking the Jewish community here in the United States. Okay, I'm glad. The Jewish community needs to be rocked and say, hey, this is the temple. This is the temple. And you say, wait a second, this is the Jewish temple. No, it's not. It's the temple of the Lord. It comes through the Jewish people. And so it has to start with Israel. It has to start with Israel. It has to start with the Jewish people. But believe me, if you want stability in the world, this is the path to go. It's not voting Republican or Democrat. It's actually doing the things. Consider your ways. Go to the mountain, cut the wood, build my temple. That's scripture. That's scripture. It's not taking away from Yeshua or anything along. This is the plan of God in action, and it is the plan of God for our day, for our time. We are the generation that was allowed to live at this time. Yes, we're going through hard times. Yes, we have struggles. We have all types of things that happen. Okay, that are difficult to get through. But we're seeing God's temple. We're seeing Israel becoming what it was prophesied to be. We're seeing a holy revival within the country of people turning and saying, I want to know about God. Teach me the commandments. I want to know about his temple. I want to know every bit of the scripture about this. And so it's a great, a huge movement. Now, in fact, I'm going to go back. I want to show a couple more things. Let me see. We'll go here. All right. So let me go up. And these, I showed these a few weeks ago. Okay. Now, this is, I'm going to show, these are some of the classrooms, but this is at a park. It's called Mini Israel. Okay, Mini, Mini Israel. And actually, the park originally came out in the early 1990s. The guys that ran the park, that ran the whole, it's not an amusement park, it's an educational park. I knew them. Okay, I worked with them. We were working on a project that was called Olam Habayit, the Temple World. And the Temple Institute was partners with us, and we had property that was ours to build on. And we were going to build a life-size model of the temple and have people come and see all kinds of exhibits and things, go in and see actual reenactments of temple ceremonies. And the second Intifada began and tourism crashed. And that went on a shelf, okay? But the Mikdash Educational Center has bought Mini Israel. And so, once again, this plan is in action. It's not called Olam Habayit, Temple World. It's literally here. At the top it says Shar Hashir, okay, and so the gate of song, and you see all the musical instruments over on the side. You see the trumpeter here. Let's go. Well, let's look at some more pictures. But you can go, if you go to Israel, you can plan to go see it, and it's an experience. And here you have a man in the garments of the Kohen Gadol. He'll be talking about it. And one of the greatest things, people can ask questions. For me, this is especially exciting because I thought that chapter was closed, but here it's open again. You know why? Because the people weren't ready for it back then. But now they are seeing what God's done in the war, the miracles. They are seeing young men that were secular wearing tzitzit. They are seeing the synagogues filled with people, and they're seeing a hunger for the temple. They're seeing red heifers being born. They're seeing Ketoret once again coming on the radar. And so there is momentum, and I want myself and you to be a part of the momentum. This is Shar Hashevatim, okay? And so everything, so you see there's different gates. Look at this. This model was at a conference that I was speaking at in Jerusalem, and it was at the big conference center there. It's called the Menachem Begin Center. And Rabbi Persoff, I didn't know him. He knew me, but I didn't know him. He knew me from years earlier, but we never talked. And he was putting together this model. And so this man was sitting next to me, and he was typing on a computer and everything. He started talking with me. And it turns out it was Eliyahu Berkowitz. And so he started telling me about the model, and we started discussing it. And he said, "Who are you?" Because he was expecting that I would not know anything about the temple. We became friends, and that's past history. Okay. Look at this. Isn't that fascinating? Okay, let's stop here. And I'm going to go, and I'm hoping that there are a tremendous amount of questions. Please ask your questions, put up your comments. If you haven't seen the interview, not only go back and watch that one, the one that was today, but watch the one from about a week and a half ago with Zvi, with Yehu Ben Zvi. And also watch there was one with Eliyahu Berkowitz, and see all these things that are happening. Be a part of it, okay? And always remember, share it. Share it. We need to spread this word. All right. Let me go to the questions. All right. All right. Virginia Anderson. Always great to see you. Shalom, shalom. What wonderful and exciting times we're witnessing. I could not agree more. You should have seen me when I first heard about this second red heifer. Like I said, Debbie came running out thinking somebody was hurt. I mean, I was literally yelling. Okay. Marcia Merrifield Phillips, Marcia. And shalom to you. And I'm glad you're here. Betty Brush from Wisconsin. Always. Jeff Fosberg, part of my research team. And he was with us on that last trip to Israel. knows Rabbi Persoff now personally. Okay. All right. Let me see if just checking to make sure that. Okay. All right. Okay. Tim Smalley from West Central Indiana. And okay. And let's see. Richard Setzinger. And Richard, I did let Kevin know about your willingness to help. I hope he got in touch with you. And so thank you for that. Okay. All right. Denise Perez from Arizona. Shalom to you. Jason Bignell from Kentucky. Very good. And Denise Perez from Arizona, she says, exciting news, couldn't agree more. Mike Fincher. And Mike, I want to say thank you. I saw you last night, okay? Shalom from Montana. Mike was on that trip. Also knows Rabbi Persov. Okay, Marcia from Michigan, Merrifield Phillips from Michigan. Just follow him. Just me, or is frame rate choppy? The frame rate is choppy. That's my internet. It seems to be suffering from the heat down here. Okay. I'm sorry about that, but I don't think there's anything I can do to make it better. Gail Thomas. And Gail was on that trip. And yeah, she was on that trip. And so she knows Rabbi Persov, a bunch of people meeting him and getting to know him. Evangeline Grayeda from Kansas. Okay, very good. Scott Paddock. Scott and I used to have a program on Hebrew Nation Radio on the Temple every week. He's part of our research group. He's done lectures on all of this. He's a great teacher. Nick Scarpinato, okay? And Nick actually helped me get my where I could hear on my computer back today. Okay, and so thank you again, Nick. And he's in St. Augustine, Florida, visiting his daughter. Okay. All right. Now, I just got to apologize. I am literally terrible in every language, including English. Okay, but my Spanish is horrible. My Hebrew is barely where you can barely understand it. And if you talk any other languages, I'm totally lost. I'm just not a language person. But from Los del Messias, okay? And so Shalom family. All right. Ann Shepherd. And she's part of our local group here from Port Neches. And very good. Yeshiva del Templo from Missouri. Very good. Yosef Eitan. Okay, that's Victor. What a great day. He was in the interview this morning. Jackie Gaylor. And Jackie, I'm so glad to see your name every week. It just makes me feel good all over. Okay, Betty Brush from Wisconsin. Everybody's checking in. That's great. All right, Mary Beth Childy. Okay, Mary Beth's from Alabama. And Debbie and I visited her home. She's great. We've raised cows for decades and never knew this fact. If they are going to consider internal organs and considering the purity of the heifer, then should they do x-rays and CT scans to evaluate the internal organs? So much to consider, or do they keep it simple with the outward appearance? Shalom, shalom from Alabama. my personal opinion is the issue with the cow on the internal organs is not going to be an issue. The right now, what they have to do is they have to have where they formally state, yes, it's an issue, or no, it's not. But I'm pretty sure they're going to say this is not an issue. Okay. And so, listen, I don't know when we're going to go to Israel to have another tour. We have to wait for the airlines to start dropping their prices. We have to wait till if you fly over on a European airline, you might not get there for several days. That's what we experienced the last time we went over. But when everything levels out, we definitely are going back. Okay. And I expect that at some point that I will be making a trip to go into to work with some of the rabbis to bring up some questions that we have, some of the evidence that we found that we think that it needs to go to them. Okay, and our job is to research, to put it together, and then we present it to them. They are the ones that will build the temple. Okay, and I'm going to participate and help in every single way I can. But in all things, we're going to channel it back to the rabbis for their consideration. And even we might disagree on a point here or a point there, but we will follow whatever they follow. And our disagreeing will not be for the purpose of saying you're wrong. It'll be for the purpose of hoping, giving them a perspective that maybe they haven't looked at. Okay? All right. Thank you, Mary Beth. All right. All right. Vernon Curtis. Okay. And Vernon also gets in on a lot of our research meetings. And I met him at, I think, Lubbock, Texas. And he was there to hear Rabbi Richmond. And so we became friends and have been so ever since. Okay, and here I'm going to make the comment. Gabrielle put this up. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like. Please, that helps us. I can't emphasize how much it helps us. The comments help us. Not only do they help us in moving our stuff to the forefront on each Facebook or YouTube, but it also inspires me when I see your comments and your questions. Okay, and so and sharing really helps. Your interaction helps us reach more people and keeps this community growing. And Gail agreed. She said, yes, blessings from Finger, Tennessee, from Barbara Lopez. All right, Terry Miller, my good friend. And Terry's got a son, Zach, who is, I'm giving him assignments on the temple. And Terry and his son came over here the other day and spent a day with us going over details on the temple. And I hope that this will become contagious and that people will start doing this all over the place. Okay, and Janet Meadows from Georgia, and Janet has always got a special place in our hearts, mine and Debbie's. Oh, yeah, the intro. Now, Gabrielle is the one that did the intro, and she says, Denise Paris says, good job. I like it too. I like it too. And we're talking about expanding it and putting in some more pictures and some maybe a little bit of video here and there, dealing with the temple. Maybe at other times we might have other topics than the temple, but right now the temple's on the front burner. All right. And Ann's Telling everyone to like, share, and comment. Thank you, Ann. Yeah, it's all about algorithms. The more that we get, it reaches more people. All right. Ann is asking a question. My question has to do with the high priest. What is it in plan or getting him from the house of stone that he was raised in to the temple grounds for the red heifer ceremony? All right. So what I was told, I asked this question myself, is that number one, they do not have to have the bridge from the Mount of Olives, from the Temple Mount to the Mount of Olives. That's covered in the Mishnah, not only in the Tractate Parah, but it's also mentioned in the Tractate Midot. They do not have to have that. What they do have to have is the location on the Temple Mount that will be halakhically where they will be able to see. Now, when the temple is standing, and let's say they have to slaughter a red heifer again, because they've used all the ashes, okay? And the temple's been built, then they will have to have a line of sight. If I can show you here. All right. Let me share my projector. All right, now over here where my cursor is, that is the east, okay? All right, so one thing you might notice is that this wall is lower, okay? We're told that one of the three eastern walls, so we have another wall. We'll move this down a little bit. So if you could picture, there is an outer wall here, okay? And so the Mount of Olives is across the Kidron Valley. So the Cohen has to be able to look over this wall, and he has to be able to look through this gate, and he has to be able to see right to where my stick is, to right there. Okay? That's the line of sight he has to have. Now, because we have no temple, that is not a requirement at this time. Okay? What he has to be able to do is he has to look to where the temple was. All right? So, we have a lot of things that are different. So we don't have to have a bridge. So we don't have to have the Cohen, the anciently the heifer and the Cohen that would slaughter it, as well as the elders of the city, will walk across this bridge. And then they would come to the location. Okay, they don't have to have that. But the entire Mount of Olives, almost all of it, is there's some houses in there and everything, but most of it is cemetery. And so you don't know that there's cemetery or graves underneath the surface, even in the places where you don't see tombstones. So what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to build a platform, and it'll have to be a certain way that it's built. I'm sure it'll be built of stone, and it'll have where wind can go underneath it, and they will take and slaughter the red heifer up on that platform. Now the Cohen that is ritually pure, they will take him and carry him from wherever he departs from. Okay, it's going to be a place that it doesn't have a grave. They're going to have to carry him in a litter. You know, it's kind of like what you would picture maybe in a Japanese movie or something, where they are carrying someone with a litter, and so that will be able to get them there. That's the answer I was given by one of the rabbis that works on this. There might be other ideas they have on how that they can do it. Anciently, and I can show you this, anciently they had children that were free from corpse impurity. And they were raised on the in one of these houses. In fact, the mission I was showing you, which is 3:2, for 3:2, is going to talk about this. And give me a second. We're going to switch over there in a moment. Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay, so you see there were courtyards in Jerusalem. We looked at that earlier. And it says, and they brought oxen with doors on their backs and children sitting on them, holding cups of stone in their hands. When they reached the Shiloach, okay, that's the pool at the bottom of the city of David, they alighted and filled them, then ascended and sat on them. Rabbi Yossi says, from his place, okay, in other words, the young man, the young boy, would not get off the oxen. From his place, he would lower it and fill it. He would have a cup and he would lower the cup into the water and then raise it up, and they would draw water, and basically I'm sure they would have some things that they could pour the water in till they got enough water. Okay. And it says Rabbi Yossi says from his place he would lower and fill it. Okay. And so it goes into the commentary here, and it says they brought oxen when about to sprinkle upon the Kohen who was to burn the cow with doors on the backs. They would place doors on the backs of the oxen, and children who grew up there sitting on them on the doors when they were on their way to draw water, into which the cow ash was placed, in order that the doors serve as a barrier between them and the ground because of a possible grave in the depths, holding cups of stone in their hands, which are not susceptible to ritual impurity. Now, give me a second. I want to show you one more thing. This, of course, was the Mishnah. This is the Tosafta, and I'm going to go. This is volume 2. I'm going to turn to Tractate Parah. Here we are. Okay, and so let me go back to chapter 3, and we're going to go to this is 1. All right, and let me see. Yeah. All right. Oh, I'm in chapter 1. Sorry. Okay, in 3:3. Okay, here you see the same thing that we saw before. Courtyards were in Jerusalem, built on top of stone, and under them was a hollow because of the grave in the depths. They bring pregnant women who give birth there and raise their sons there until they are 7 or 8 years old. And they bring oxen and so forth. And so here you're told how old the children have to be. And here it says, Rabbi Yehuda says, oxen with broad bellies, so that the feet of the youngsters should not protrude and become unclean by reason of the grave in the depths. And so it goes forward. So we have texts that kind of set a precedent on how this is done. Oh, okay. All right. So let me go back here. I clicked the little sound thing again. All right. So I hope that helps. But they have a plan on how to get him to the location without him contracting corpse impurity. And so what we learn from these texts that we read is that even if you're close enough to a grave that your shadow falls on it, then you become corpse impure. Okay. So that it's pretty tricky. There's a lot of little ins and outs here. Okay. Jay Frey from Arkansas. I'm glad you're here, Jay. And let's see. All right. Scott Paddock replying to Barbara M. Lopez. Okay, yeah. All right. So Mara Chavez Thank you so much for the great news. It is great news. Okay. Will Suzanne return? This is from Anne, to his home until the temple is built? Will they eventually be retired from his duties and replaced with another high priest? I'm not understanding who Suzanne is. I'm going to guess the yes, once they have a high priest, there will come a time that another high priest will replace him, just like in days of old. Okay, and so once they start the temple going, that temple's going to be there for 1,000 years. Okay, Gabe Solomon. I'm glad you're here, Gabe, from Washington State. All right, beautiful country. Darren Anthony, okay, from New York City. Darren, you always have good questions. What do they feed the heifers in order to ensure the food doesn't contain impurities? Okay, as far as I understand, the cow cannot become impure by what it eats. Okay, I'm sure that they are going to do everything they can to make sure it has a healthy diet. And remember, these cows own dairy farms, and I guarantee you that the dairy cattle in Israel are well taken care of. But I will ask if there's any specific things along those lines. Number two, what would be the plan to get the heifer to the Mount of Olives? The heifer cannot become impure, okay? So that's not a problem. The heifer can step on a grave. It's not going to make it impure. The only one that can become impure is a Cohen, okay? Is a human, okay? Now, corpse impurity does not matter to non-Jews because here is where it comes in. You have other things, other impurities that can have an impact on non-Jews, but give me a second. All right. So we're going to go to the Chapter Kelim in the Mishnah, and here. Okay, so this is Kelim 1:8. Okay, so let me show you real quick from 1:6. It talks about the land of Israel here. There are 10 sanctities or 10 levels of Kedusha. And the word is Kadashot here. Okay. And so there are 10 levels of Kedusha. The land of Israel has a higher Kedusha than all the other countries. And it tells you why. Then cities surrounded by a wall have a higher Kedusha. And it's talking about in the land of Israel. And it gives you the reason. The Mitzarim are sent out of them, and they a corpse they cannot have inside the city. Okay. Now within the walls in 1:8, this is the city of Jerusalem. It's more sanctified than these, for we may eat there Kodashim Kalim. All right. That's holy offerings in Maaser Sheni second time. Har Habayit, the Temple Mount, is more sanctified than this for Zavim. So a Zav, so this is talking about men, is a man that has a genital discharge. He cannot go on the Temple Mount. Women, a Zavot, means that she has a flow of blood that is not her menstrual flow. In the New Testament, you have a woman that had an issue of blood for 12 years. Can't go on the Temple Mount. Nidot, a woman that is in her cycle, okay, and that she has the menstrual flow. She cannot go on the Temple Mount, or if she's on the Temple Mount and she begins her period, she has to exit. Yodot, that is a woman that has a discharge due to childbirth, may not enter there. The Kel is more sanctified than this. So Kel is going to be this platform right here that goes around. Okay, let me see if I can get where you can see it. Yeah. there is a platform that goes around the temple. This is called the Kel. Okay, it's 10 cubits wide. You can see it goes over here around the court of the women, and it circles the temple all the way around. So the Kel is more sanctified than this. Okay, for Gentiles, and one rendered impure by a corpse may not enter there. That's the only place that corpse impurity has a bearing when we have the temple. You can't have the temple without the red heifer, but you can't go into the temple if you have corpse impurity. You can go with corpse impurity into the outer courts, okay? But you can't go into the inner courts. Only the Jews are allowed to go in there, okay? All right. And by the way, that is not a rabbinical ordinance. That is something that is mistaught. It is actually, you'll find it in the Torah several times. Okay, so your third question. All right, also started reading The Temple, its symbolism and meaning, them and now. That is a great book. First two chapters give amazing explanation of Shabbat and temple. It does. I love it. But they are tied to creation itself, and as it explains so far, they are the pinnacle of covenant between man and God. The entire worship system and creation hinge on Shabbat and temple, and those two are equal. Those two are equal. A lot of people don't know this, but the Shabbat is actually seen as part of a temple command. We define work by the work that was done on the temple. All right. Tremendous book. Okay. Richard, great job on the video. Again, another compliment to Gabriel. All right, great. What happens after the red heifer ceremony? Does he return to his home until the temple is built? Does he eventually retire and get replaced by another high priest? It doesn't have to be the high priest. Doesn't mean that the one that slaughters the red heifer is the high priest. What we have in Bamidbar 19, if you look at that, that's Numbers 19. Let me move this. And we'll share again. This is a stone Tanakh. And so here you see chapter 19. It says, Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, this is the decree of the Torah, which Hashem has commanded, saying, speak to the children of Israel, and they shall take to you a completely red cow, which is without blemish, and upon which a yoke has not come. You shall give it to Eleazar the Cohen. Okay, Eleazar was the son of Aaron. He wasn't the high priest at that time. Later, he became the high priest. So it does not have to be the high priest, but the high priest has to officially designate the priest that can perform the ceremony. So it's a very interesting thing here, but they have a priest that is free of corpse impurity. Now let me show you something here. It says, Eleazar the Cohen shall take some of its blood. Well, no, wait. You shall give it to Eleazar the Cohen. He shall take it outside of the camp, and someone shall slaughter it in his presence. He doesn't even have to slaughter it. Eleazar the Cohen shall take some of the blood with his forefinger, sprinkle some of its blood toward the front of the tent of meeting 7 times. Someone shall burn the cow before his eyes, its hide and its flesh, its blood with its dung shall he burn. The Cohen shall, by the way, when he sprinkles the blood, that's where he has that line of sight. Okay? The Cohen should take cedar wood, hyssop, and crimson thread, shani tolad, which, by the way, only returned as a color in the last 30 years. See, another thing that we need for the temple is coming back. And he shall throw them into the burning of the cow. The Cohen shall immerse his clothing and immerse himself in water, and afterwards he may enter the camp. And the Cohen shall remain contaminated until evening. Okay, you see this? Okay. And it tells us that the one that's slaughtered, he also becomes contaminated, becomes impure, but he doesn't get corpse impurity. Okay, he is a tuval yom, and if you have corpse impurity, it takes how long before you're over the corpse impurity? 7 days. You have to declare it on one day. On the third day, then you are sprinkled, and on the seventh day you're sprinkled. Okay, so that's the way it works. So they are tuval yom, meaning that they have another impurity. They will have to immerse, and they wait till the sun goes down, and then they're pure. They will go back to doing their regular jobs as a Kohen and so forth. It does not disqualify them. Okay? And I know that everything's kind of jerky here. I'm sorry, the internet's just unstable tonight. All right. Okay. Replying to Darren Anthony, this is Teresa Anderson. Thank you, Darren. I just got the book out of my library, and I read what you recommended. I have read this title before, but it's a book that never runs out of teaching power. That's the truth. Okay. Okay. Anne says, I have not been getting updates. I've been fortunate enough to run across your updates in short time. I checked my bell. It was not on. Okay. So if you're not getting updates, check your bell. Got to have the bell on. All right. Now, this is the link, okay? The charity.com /Mikdash/USA. And by the way, this is going to be available in Spanish also. But that if you click on that, that's going to take you to the Mikdash Educational Center, and you can make a donation there. You can ask them questions and stuff, and they'll be glad to help you. Okay. And Gabriel says, page also in Spanish and many other languages. All right, there we go. Everyone should check to see if your bell is on. At a glance, it should look like something like this, except the bell is black. All right. Teresa Anderson, shalom again. Okay. Jay Frey, I actually did that 3D viewer temple at the Davidson Archaeological Park. So cool. Yeah, that's another one. At the Davidson Archaeological Park, and hopefully sometime you'll be able to see ours, and that's what the Mikdash Center uses. Okay, Warren Baker from Alabama. Warren's been with us for 30 years at least. I understand that the temple is of God. However, most of Christianity believe that the temple is within them. It is a great hurdle. No matter what we believe, Gentiles see it as a sacrilege, okay? That is a Jewish teaching. We are the holy temple, okay? That is not a Christian teaching. It is spoken in the Christian temple because everybody that they were speaking, the Gospels were all to Jews, as the epistles, many of them are to the Jewish people, but the Jewish teachings is what they are teaching. And so they're teaching, we are the temple of God. But the temple does not replace the Messiah. In fact, the temple gives enlightenment on the whole plan of God. And so it is where God's throne is, and very definitely we're going to have a temple during the Messianic kingdom, and Messiah will be here, and the Torah will go out from Jerusalem. And Warren, I know it grieves my heart when people say we don't need the temple. That's what God gave us as a gift, to understand the greatness and his depth, and to show all time. And it is the key to making the scriptures come alive. Okay? Absolutely. It is a great hurdle. Tucker Carlson, yeah. Okay, and let's see. All right. Dr. Mordecai Ben Menachem said that there were over 100 wars in the world. I don't doubt it. All right, Teresa Anderson. I am a conservative and a Biblican, not just a Republican. I would agree. Me too. All right. We're taking questions now. What would you like to know? Ask a question in the live chat. Thank you. Thank you for repeating that. In the manufacturing temple models, are they using your model? No, they're not. And that's a good question. That's a very, very controversial thing. One of the things that we want to, that we would like to teach is the outline of the temple here. You'll often see the temple where it comes up all the way to the roof, goes across and down. That won't work. There is a reason. And the reason actually is in the Talmud, because there are right in my little, here we go. Right in here, right in this location, there are rings. And there are 24 of them. And so these are called tabahot, okay? And they are used to place the head of the animal in. And so these are used at least for certain during the Tamid service, okay? And it's used in the morning shacharit. It's used in the afternoon minha. And they are required to kill a lamb every day. You'll find this in Numbers chapter 28. It's in the first paragraph. And so in the morning, the sunlight has to come through and hit a specific ring, and there can't be a shadow on it. And that means that the gate has to be so high. That's the Nicanor gate, okay? And the building for the afternoon, the sun is in the west. So the sun is going to be back here, coming this way. And so it has to come in and it has to hit the second ring on the southeast. The morning one is on the northwest. Okay, and so so we can establish how this building was shaped. There's also another text in the Talmud that tells us it was shaped like the Itztabah. Okay, the Itztabah, and my good friend Orit Peleg Bakat, who's one of the leading archaeologists, she discovered that the Itztabah means a double portico, a portico on top of a portico. The larger portico at the bottom is bigger, and so it sits in the center. And it says the temple building is just like that portico. Okay, and so things like that we need to present, and we hope that we believe that we can prove them. And so we'll see what happens. Okay, all right. All right. So we want to thanks to our new moderator for helping, and thank you. Very good. Joe Mendola from Austin, shalom from Texas, and shalom to you. And the awesomeness is what God's done. Okay, I love that 3D temple app. I experienced it then through Davidson Archaeology Center. Shalom, shalom from Alaska. There is another one, by the way, down by the hotel, just right past where you go into the Western Wall tunnels. Keith Olar, Keith, I'm glad to see you here. I hope that you are doing well. I know you've had some medical problems, and I hope you're doing well. Keith is from Michigan. Okay. Yosef Eitan, okay, that Victor, I agree, internal organs are inspected the same as they were in Moses' day. Yeah, you weren't able to see them. Okay. All right. Jim McBee, shalom from Oregon. Thanks for answering questions. I love the question time. All right, let's see. Okay, we are working hard to reach 1,000 subscribers. Help by sharing, commenting, and liking. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell. That's a good reminder. Okay, Manifestado El Reno 7. Excellent information. It's good when you got good things happening that you can show. Okay, Jim McBee. If the tabernacle of David is the same one that Moshe set up in the wilderness were found, could it be used? Okay. Now, understand that the tabernacle of David, there we have the Mishkan. We have the Mishkan that is at the time of David was not in Jerusalem. It was at Gibeon, which is actually right at the edge of the northern part of Jerusalem today. It's almost a suburb of Jerusalem. And so in Jerusalem, David set up a tent, which was called the Okel David. And so that was to house the Ark of the Covenant. I do not think they're going to find the Ark of the Covenant. There is a passage in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 3, that says that in those days there will be no Ark of the Covenant and will not even come into our memory. But I might be wrong. If they found the original Mishkan, remember that the time that they were in the land for 369 years, the Mishkan, first off, the Mishkan was at Gilgal 14 years. Then it went from there to Shiloh. It was there for 369 years. It's going to go for a number of years to the last two places, which Nov till Doeg the Edomite came and slew all the priests at the command of King Saul, and then Saul moved it to Gibeon. And so until the temple was built, that was our two things. And more than likely, even though we're told in the case of Shiloh, they did not have the walls as in the wilderness. They had stone walls, and they still had the coverings on top. We assume that in the other locations, they had that same thing. We're not sure. We don't have a text that tells us that for sure. However, if they were recovered, more than likely, they would not be usable. And my guess is there would be so many halakhic questions that by the time they would answer all the halakhic questions about can we use this, can we not use this, what if there was, something happened to it or whatever, that they would use it to study. They would use it to get definition of the Tavnit, the original Tavnit, which could be amplified into the further Tavnit of the first temple. And then the first temple was built on the Tavnit of the first, the blueprint. And so they added things that they understood from the book of Ezekiel. We must build the temple according to the second temple, following that Tavnit. When Messiah comes, the Ezekiel temple will be revealed in its fullness, and we'll do that. But I don't think it would be used. It could be, but I think there's going to be some problems with it. Okay. All right. And let me see. Every time I touch this, it jumps back up. All right. All right. And Anna's thanking the moderators. All right. Thank you. And we got a smiley face from Alaska from Jean Frey. And Teresa Anderson has put up a post. Let's see. I just lost it. For an archaeology article. I'm not sure what that's on. And I believe that's all of our questions. Unless someone has a question real quick, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. I have thoroughly enjoyed, especially all the questions and the comments. Please like, share, subscribe, and follow. And go back and watch the videos, and please share them with others. Okay, you can see them on Facebook or on YouTube, but if you'll share, it will help us. Okay. Oh, the article is about finding beams from the first first temple, and I did see that article. I haven't read it yet, so I look forward to that. All right. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for being patient, and I apologize about the unstable internet. All right. And if you are enjoying, please like again before you go. And let's